Hello everyone, it's Raza Von Werder from the University of Mother God Church, and I'm reading part 2 of an article written by William Bond. It's about matriarchal religion versus patriarchal religion. I already did a video on this, but it didn't load right, so I don't remember where I started part 2, but I'm going to take a chance that it was here. I'll just take a chance, and if I missed a little bit, sorry. When the prayers of male gods no longer worked because of negativity surrounding these gods, their priests made excuses and blamed others, including the goddess worshippers. The blame game would create even more negative thoughts and feelings, and also hate and violence, as the male priest encouraged their followers not only to blame the goddess worshippers, but to hate them as well. This is because they were competitive and saw the goddess worshippers as the opposition. The negative thoughts and ideas coming from the god worshippers would also create negative feelings in the goddess worshippers when they encountered God worshippers. So it's goddess versus God worshippers. And the male God worshippers created the conflict. Unfortunately, people then wouldn't have any concept of positive and negative thought. All they knew was that everything had suddenly gone wrong and no one was sure why. The male priest would be sure whom to blame for what was going wrong, and that would be everyone except themselves, as usual. While the holy women would be confused and uncertain because they never encountered a situation like this before. The male priest saw this as an opportunity in which to exploit and used aggression, violence, deception, and propaganda to get what they want. Yet in spite of this, goddess religions continued for thousands of years. The reason was that the people who stayed with the original religion of the Great Mother were still able to create a positive reality for themselves that the priests could not touch. This then makes sense of some of the teachings of Jesus when he said, "The meek shall inherit the earth," which so many people cannot understand, and made the joke, "if that's all right by everyone else." This teaching by Jesus doesn't make sense in our patriarchal world, but does make sense if you think about the limitless power of the ancient Mother God. What we have to understand with positive thinking is that love and compassion are far higher vibrations than aggression, hatred, fear, and violence. So in spiritual terms, the unconditional love mothers have for children, animals, and men is far more positive than the aggression and competitive nature of men. This is why that before men can use aggression and violence on women, they have to first drag her down from her higher loving vibration. Abusive men do this all the time. They start off being charming and entertaining. Then the women are subjected to put down jokes that slowly turn into verbal abuse that undermines a woman's confidence in herself. Finally, when the abusive man has dragged her down so she feels worthless, he can then subject her to physical violence. Yeah, that's a typical psychopath male. The demonic males, what they do to women. This then means that a woman can keep her vibration high through her loving nature. If she can keep it high, she cannot be touched. This is because anyone who comes into contact with her will be strongly influenced by the loving feelings she gives out. Women can also be dragged down through sacrificial love. It is natural for women to put the needs of her children before herself, but both children and men can exploit this maternal love to make a woman feel guilty about not giving enough to them. Definitely, women sometimes give too much, for sure. This is why when women give unconditional love, it is important they love themselves and not the sacrificial love that patriarchy encourages women to have. In other words, don't kill yourself. Unless you want to be a martyr, I guess. Unconditional love is extremely positive. This positive feeling can be used to give a person wealth and power. To stop this happening, the priests put out the teachings that saintly people have to renounce the world and live in poverty. Nuns, not only in Christianity, but other religions like Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, and Taoism, have to take a vow of poverty. This is the exact opposite of what we want. To make our world a better place, we need the most loving and caring people in positions of power. This is in contrast to priests who have become extremely wealthy, with enough wealth and power to match kings and princes. According to patriarchal religion, it is all right for corrupt and deceitful priests to become fabulously wealthy, but not for loving and caring women. The point is that a truly loving person cannot be corrupted by wealth and power. Loving and caring women who understand the power of love are the biggest threat to the patriarchal society. This is why patriarchy has belittled women for thousands of years, but now it is changing and women are demanding respect and power. Women have the choice of learning to be like men and try to be as aggressive and assertive as men, or go down the path of positive thinking and through love learn to raise their vibration high enough to be one with the ancient Great Mother and her limitless power. I'm going to repeat one page in case I missed it, because I have a little time. 2 pages. The first age, this is according to the Greek myths, the first age was an age of innocence and happiness. Truth and right prevailed, though not enforced by law, nor was there any magistrate to threaten or punish. The forest had not yet been robbed of its trees to furnish timbers for vessels, nor had men built fortifications around their towns. There was no such thing as swords, spears, or helmets. The earth brought forth all things necessary for man without his labor in plowing or sowing. Perpetual spring reigned. Flowers sprung up without seed. The rivers flowed with milk and wine, and yellow honey distilled from the oaks. There were similar myths all over the world in places like South America and China. One of these myths is the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve lived a life of harmony before it went wrong. This is an old story that predates Judaism and comes from ancient Babylon. The interesting thing about this is that archaeologists have discovered ancient Neolithic towns and cities that support these Golden Age stories. The archaeologist Maria Gimbutas has written a number of books about this. She points out that in the excavations of Neolithic towns and cities, archaeologists could find very little evidence of conflict, war, and violence. At the same time, there were no big houses for the rulers or rich people, as all the houses were the same, suggesting that people lived in an equal society. At the time, the people worshipped the Great Mother who gave birth to the world. Then at the beginning of the Bronze Age, all this suddenly changed when people began to worship male gods, and then archaeologists discovered evidence of extreme violence and the start of hierarchical societies in the Bronze Age layers. And defensive walls were built around towns and cities, and images of extreme brutality were found. Large palaces and temples were also built with a minority living in large houses and the rest of the people living in poverty. Why would society live in peace, harmony, and equality when they worshiped the Great Mother, but we had conflict and violence when people began to worship male gods? The reason is that when we worship God in the form of a mother, we easily imagine her giving us all unconditional love and everything we need, desire. If we accept ideas like we create our own reality, then believing in a supreme and powerful deity that loves us all unconditionally means we all have a positive attitude about the world we live in. This then makes it easy for us to create a positive reality for ourselves without trying. People then wouldn't have to learn about positive thinking, because just being taught about the Great Mother who loves them all unconditionally was enough. Then people decided to have sexual equality and worship male gods as well. Unfortunately, male gods, as we have seen throughout the patriarchal age, create negative thinking. This is because men are more conditional in their love, as well as being aggressive and assertive. So people began to introduce negativity into their lives when they worshiped male gods. Other problems were that people no longer had faith in male gods' unconditional love. The concept of the male god's conditional love created negativity, which would be made worse when male priests exploited this by telling worshippers that God was angry because they didn't do what the priests wanted. Yes, the original religions, the original concept was matriarchal. Woman is the original human being. Woman is the original person. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The chicken. And I believe she created the first male through parthenogenesis. She did not come out of his rib, he came out of her womb. When males through violence and the demonic, when the demonic came into the world, and in the myth of Lucifer is the myth of patriarchy, Lucifer becoming Satan, is when men said, I will not serve. And they turned against Mother God. This is my opinions. They turned against Mother God and against the women leadership and women priestesses and women ruling the family and the world. When they turned demonic, that's when patriarchy enforced its male god and its ideas, and hatred, aggression, exploitation, steal, kill, destroy. Everything that the devil does is present in patriarchy. Patriarchy and the demonic is one and the same thing. And Mother God is not going to stand for it. She's making men extinct. Take a look at Dr. Brian Sykes' Adam's Curse, A Future Without Men. Men will not exist in about 100,000 years. The Y chromosome is crumbling, and they are going to be no more. Women will reproduce without men once again. To be